people, and welcome to another awesome episode on Neurodigest by Andy Speaks for Special Needs Persons Africa, where we debunk everything about special needs parenting, living life, and telling the African stories. And today I am super excited because we're going to discuss something that I really enjoy, and that is food. And we have Jury, who's a chef in the house, and he's going to break things down for us. Welcome, Jury.
Thank you so much, Sylvia.
Yes.
As she said, my name is Chef Jury, and I love nutrition, I love food, and anything that has anything to do with food.
So he's a foodie,
Yes.
like me. I enjoy cooking, so I was super excited when we were saying we're doing this one. But we're not going to be talking about just cooking any food, because as we know, we have to align with why we're here. So we want to empower parents so that they know food is not just food, right?
Yes.
There are places we go, we pay food through the nose, and you're like, and then the portion is like this, and you're like, is that what you paid for? Are you crazy? You know? Yes. So tell us, what's nutrition actually? Because that's food is about nutrition, nurturing our bodies, for us to stay alive, it's like fuel for a car, right?
Yes, exactly.
And it has to be like, there is an art to it, not just the cooking, not just the eating. Is there a formula for eating, by the way?
Slowly is best, so you can enjoy each bite.
So pole your best.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is actually nutrition? Because that's what we hear.
Nutrition is the blanket word that's given to the process of actually obtaining. It's just the small parts that constitute food, which is the proteins, the carbohydrates, the vitamins, the amino acids, and how we as organisms and humans are able to absorb that into our system to create the energy that we need.
Okay. So energy is our goal at the end
Yes,
of the day, in a balanced way.
In an efficient and balanced way.
How is it efficient?
By efficient, I mean getting enough macronutrients. Like it's usually measured out in milligrams and grams. So getting the right amount that is going to be bioavailable to the body and work properly to give us the right amount of energy, so that you're not going through your day feeling fatigued, yet you're thinking, oh, but I ate. It has to be available to us.
Is that why you tell us eat a balanced diet?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, because each part of nutrition, each segment that is nutrients is important for the body.
Now, for me, who, no matter how much I eat, I'm still petite. And everyone thinks we've gone to a gym, yet someone else says that I sniff food and I grow big. And it's easier for me to lose weight, someone else, it's very hard for them to lose weight. When we are cooking and you're talking about balance, is it that I need to see I'm doing 100 grams of flour versus 100? Because I see people looking at, reading how much of calories am I taking in. How do you know what calorie matters? Because of there are those who have very busy days, there are those ones who are like the athletes, then we have like our special needs families, and then we have those ones who just go into the office and just sit and talk. So how do we balance all this? If you're in a household setting, because you see Baba anafanya tofauti. If you're in Western, when you're digging in the shamba, then there's that mama who sits in the office. There is that mama who will be in the shamba the whole day fetching water and all that. How do you ensure the entire family, considering all of them are different in terms of their metabolism also, metabolism in these times of processing the amount of food that we're taking? So how would you say to balance this diet for
So
everyone?
as you've put it, everybody has a different metabolic rate. That's how you digest food and how long it stays in your system. So due to that difference, everybody has a caloric intake that is optimal for them.
Okay.
So there are those people who less goes a longer way, and there are those people who eat more, so that they can be able to do the activities that they need to do. The way you mentioned, that guy in Western who needs to remove the shamba, that person needs a higher caloric intake compared to that person sitting at their desk and doing work. Because at the end of the day, it's how you use energy and how much energy you need. And there are those people who also go to the gym. So you go because you're going to be active, you need the energy to be able to convert the nutrients that you've gotten, be it the glycogen in your blood, and convert it into something that's available to make muscle to do anything.
All right. So you're a chef. That means you're very good at cooking, right?
Yes, so I've been told.
So you've been told. That's for you to know and for me to find out,
Yes.
right? We'll do that one. I will try and find out how good you are. And apart from that, now all these things about nutrition, is it that this is what you knew you want to do, or did you meander somewhere in the middle of what you studied? Is it a passion? Why do you do what you do?
So there's two parts to this story. When I was really young, I was a bad eater.
Okay.
I was really, really bad eater.
Bad eater in terms of anything you see you eat.
Yeah, not I wouldn't eat food.
Uh-huh.
I was this skinny. You might not believe,
Forgive my natural expression. But
so I was very skinny, and I came to the realization: how about if I take the time and the effort to actually know what I enjoy to eat and how I want it to be made, so that I can, at the end of the day, enjoy, maybe gain some weight, So that's how I became interested in food. Then when I studied in university, I studied hotel and restaurant management, which was pretty close to what I wanted to do, which was culinary arts, but there was no, I'd say, I wanted a really good education in culinary arts, and there wasn't that offered at this point.
this is Kenya. No, I'm just thinking at that time, what were you thinking? This is Kenya. Okay, at least now things have changed.
Yes.
We have restaurants and people take food seriously.
And there are
But
more
back in the
culinary
day,
schools.
you know?
Yes.
Okay.
So after that, that's when I delved into, once I finished my degree, I delved into food and I became a chef. And that's where I learned more, and you learn by practicing. So I was in the kitchen, cooking with different ingredients and learning about them, their backgrounds, and how they affect us as people. So that's where my interest came in, and since then, I've never looked back.
Awesome. And then he found himself in children, which is our focus for today. Yes. So why children? And from Pale in my attempt, you said you don't have children.
So it's a funny story, because when COVID happened, of course all businesses were closed, restaurants were closed, all these things were closed. So I went back, took account of my life, and I thought, okay, what shall I do to keep me busy? And I went into organic farming, and I was like, wow, this is nice. Then right after that, when things opened up, I was approached by a director of a school who wanted to outsource catering, because they know I'm a chef. So I was like, how can we outsource this function that is very bothersome? Because the director would be like, why am I being called in the morning, being asked for dania and cooking oil? Why?
That's not my day.
Yes. So they sat down and thought, like, why don't you get professionals to actually run this part? Yeah, and I was like, yeah, see, I cook, why not? But the moment I entered into that field of now cooking for school children, I realized that each child has their specific needs, and we're the only ones who can cater to that. So that's how I went into child nutrition, whereby you're trying to cater for all the different children within the school setup and ensure that they're getting proper nutrition.
Okay.
Yeah.
Apart from now landing there, and today's theme being children and special needs children, to be precise. Yeah. Now, I know in the school setup, I'm sure you've experienced it, that every kid has their own special. I remember in high school there used to be special diets.
Yes.
And in this case, in parenting, as a special needs parent, you know, when we get diagnosis, everyone gives you their advice.
Yes.
So the first thing that was thrown at me as a mother to a child with autism, so you find as we dive into special needs nutrition now, children generally, but special needs. When you get your diagnosis, considering I'm a parent with a child on the autism spectrum, the first thing everyone tells you is cut sugar, cut wheat, what was the other one? Sugar, wheat, and milk.
And processed foods.
And processed food. That comes later. Yeah. But the default, everyone is like, remove milk and remove sugar, those two. Sugar, I understand, is about hyperactivity. But then now when it comes to wheat, you, as a parent, let me tell you, the first reaction is like, are you being serious? Because you just think of breakfast, bread, food, chapati, as in, like, wheat is like a center of everything. But how would you advise best? What for us to get this nutrition to work for us? Because I believe the other thing we don't get told is, okay, then supplement it with this, like use this instead of that. What's your view on this, specifically for autism, before we delve into the other special needs conditions?
First off, we need to understand where nutrition starts.
Okay.
With a child, nutrition starts in the womb. Is the mother taking the right steps to get the right amount of nutrients? Because literally, you have something growing inside of you. You have to cater for that and yourself. So when there's a lack of nutrients, your body is fighting with your child to get nutrients, and that's where problems start off, whereby your child isn't getting enough nutrients to be able to conduct brain development, proper body development. And I usually insist, have you gone for your prenatal care? Have you done your test? That is where nutrition starts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of us think it starts after ametoka.
Ametoka too.
That's when you're like, breastfeeding is starting point. So at least we know.
Yes.
And then explain to us more of why that lactose intolerance. Because for me, I'm saying that because I remember I was struggling with a lot of gastro issues.
Yes.
Reflux.
Yes.
You know, those are the things we meet, you know. And then after a while I'm told, you have to stop taking milk because he's taking your milk through the milk. And you're just like, huh? So I had to stop milk, you know, before we figure out what is causing all this mess. Because some of the, you know, there's the hypothesis that the gut contributes a lot to autism and the development and etc. post-delivery, this is, you know. But how is that so? What is it in milk?
So to start off, a healthy gut equals a healthy mind. And when it comes to milk, I always tell people this. Cow's milk is for cows.
Oh, we're converting our babies to cows now. Okay.
But it has a high amount of lactose, and sometimes the body cannot process and turn it into lactase. So that's why you get like stomach issues and whatnot. So the body isn't able to process it fully to get the proper nutrients from it. So that's why the problems begin.
Okay. And camel, isn't it for camel babies? Because that's the alternative, and goat and whatnot.
So each type of milk has its own nutritional value. You understand? So cow's milk has a high amount of lactase. Camel milk is healthier, but to some extent it still belongs to another animal. Yes.
Okay.
And it's even goat's milk, it's really healthy, but again it belongs to
Okay. And then the way in the movies we always see like before bed get a glass of milk. What's that got to do with it?
That was a lot of marketing.
Oh right. No, you see what you see monkey do, right?
Yeah,
just to save another parent to be like, but for my child is having sleepless nights, shikamaziwa.
Yes,
you know, that is what we see.
A lot of the things that were pushed towards, especially when it comes to food, comes from marketing from a long time ago, whereby certain companies were trying to push a certain agenda on their product, and they really insist on you getting to use the product. It's the same as, I'd say, cereals. Cereals are not really healthy. I mean, like Kellogg's and the processed cereals. I don't think.
Okay.
Yes.
So
like breakfast cereals, like Kellogg's, like cornflakes, they have a really high glycemic index and they have sugar in them, which is really not good. But the companies will tell you it's healthy.
Yeah, like the biggest breakfast to catch and go.
Yeah, but it's because they are pushing their products.
Now that brings me to the next product, wheat. It's the other number one top thing you're told, cut down on the wheat. Yet everywhere you turn is wheat. Wheat makes like 80% of the carbs you use as a carbohydrate. So I would like to just be curious about why wheat, why cut wheat, and what are the best replacements for it, so that you see at the same time what we struggle with is, so if I don't give them wheat, of course I'm still exposing them. Yes, there are other things, but then the other things, alternatives, not cheap. Yeah, trust me, I tried the diet. Let me just I tried. There is the time I was like, I'm going on a diet, and me, unfortunately, I have 2 kids on the spectrum, and I learned the hard way. It's not a one size fits all, because they're 2 totally different individuals reacting totally differently. And finding substitutes, I even tried something called couscous. I'm just like, then you're presenting this to a child, they're looking at you like, what on earth is going on? You know, what is this? Because it's just tiny yellow things. So it's very hard and not everyone can afford it. What is the easiest way to a parent to just feed a special needs child safely, affordably, and then adhering to whatever milk and wheat is all about? Yeah.
The problem about wheat, the problem usually is the level at which it is processed. When it's highly processed, it gets a higher glycemic index, which means it has a lot of carbohydrates which convert to sugar.
So we're back to sugar.
Yes. At the end of the day, your body operates with what is called glycogen. That is what food is usually converted to for storage. And the quality of glycogen, it must be good in that, for example, an alternative I usually give for breakfast as opposed to highly processed wheat like bread, especially white bread, because that one.
I was just about to ask, because most of us when you're hearing cut down wheat and then you see brown bread, it looks more of like the enemy. So you're saying that brown bread is actually safer than white?
Yes, especially if you're able to get whole grain brown bread.
Isn't the price tag on whole grain?
Even sourdough bread, you're like,
are we eating bread or something else?
You're there preparing for your children, like, okay, here's a slice for today. Because of the cost.
Yes.
So they're usually cheaper alternatives. I usually say complex carbs like sweet potatoes, arrowroot. Those are usually the go-to, especially in this region, because they're accessible, they're affordable. Even cassava, those are what I usually suggest when it comes to foods that are better.
Can you process when to get cassava? I only know Nigerians and cassava. So at least I'm lucky I'm married there, I can be able to, bring home. But then it's not, also cassava is not that easily available, is it?
Okay, it just depends where you look. Cause
Mombasa, I know, I've seen it.
Yes.
But then the scary bit is how borderline of getting toxins it is. And that's why I think
the sourcing of it and where it's being grown.
Okay.
But in Nairobi, there's specific markets, because I'm a chef.
So are you're the plug?
Yes.
Tell us the secrets. Where should we?
So, there are a few places where you can actually find proper products that are not pesticide free. They're grown in organic farms and they're affordable. Yes.
So the more organic, the less processed.
Yes.
So our greatest enemy is the processing.
Yes, the processing.
And that's why they say keep off processed food. So now on to the next one. You mentioned that when the higher it's processed, the more it goes towards sugar.
Yes.
Sugar is the next thing that I know, especially with children with hyperactivity and ADHD that we talk about sugar.
Yes.
So that's just high energy. We keep it on the low.
Yes.
And they're able to settle down. So for those ones who are hyper, what is the best other than sugar? What do we cut?
There's a methodology to it when it comes to now getting to the root cause of these issues. Number one is usually to cut off sugar. Two, to cut off processed foods. Just things that have not been processed. I think
as raw as it gets.
Yes, as whole. I usually say whole as it gets. That is a really good alternative for the regular bread.
Okay, that is quite informative because farm to fork or to plates is the best for us to do.
Yes, and if you don't have access to that, an alternative is finding where your foods are sourced from.
Okay.
And trying your best to ensure that it's safe, it's grown without pesticides, because also pesticides actually play a huge role in creating allergies. Like one of the things that I realized, and a lot of research was done into it, is that the growing of wheat, why was there like an advent of like, so many people are intolerant to wheat, but it's because of the pesticides used in growing wheat. Because wheat is a grass, and when you do farming, at some point you have to weed, but because wheat is a grass, it's so hectic to
to weed it out.
So what do? Get a blanket pesticide, spray, you're done. The weeds die, the weed continues growing. But the pesticides enter the weed. And that's how it reaches us, and our children are developing allergies, adults are developing allergies. That's where it all stems from.
Now, I'm just trying to think. We're in the city. There's no way I will know where my things come from unless I go reading every packet looking for things that and now in this era of GMO, I know that's another high level risk you're looking at. But I'm trying to think of that mother of a child with cerebral palsy. Yeah? And this child, let's say, has an apraxia or challenge is chewing, etc. And they have to sort of blend everything to make it. How do they get to feed their kids with that whole balanced diet we're talking about? You know, because I think one of the greatest challenges when I've visited caregivers with children with cerebral palsy is the babies are usually so small. So is it a nutrition thing? Is it amount of food they take in? So what would we advise them so that when they consider when they're cooking, that is blendable? Because sometimes you want to cook something and thinking like, how do I even do this? You know, what is your opinion on how best they can handle it?
How best to handle that is that you have to keep in mind a child also has to get a balanced diet. There are various charts that you can use to ensure that this amount of, for example, when you're blending the food, you feel like this amount of, for example, beans will be able to provide enough protein and carbohydrates for the child. And ensuring that within that blending process, you have to include dietary fiber. Because dietary fiber helps with the system to cleanse it and also help with the absorption of the other nutrients.
Let's break down dietary fiber. Jargon, so that even Mama Mboga will be able to get
to understand.
Plain, yes.
Okay. Dietary fiber is foods that are high in, oh my gosh, I can't use the same
fiber.
words to this.
High in fiber.
Yes, so this comes into leafy vegetables, bulky veggies.
Strandy foods.
Yes.
Fiber is just strandy. The way you cut vegetables and you can see.
Yes, exactly.
And water, they have their own water kind of thing going.
Yes. So that's the dietary fiber, because it's important, because at the end of the day, even if as an adult you're conducting a really intense diet, you still have to include dietary fiber so that your system can be able to absorb things and be able to hold on to something, as opposed to just giving it straight carbohydrates and protein. You have to have veggies. That's a must.
And the meats.
And the
protein
is
just do the regular meat and blend it up.
Yes, there's no better source of protein than.
When it comes to balancing, you find that special needs kids have needs supplementation because of the medicines they take.
Yes.
We're told anticonvulsants chew to the bone structure. Yet you're told this is where the quagmire comes. Milk is not camel milk, it's not readily available, it's very expensive. So then we are always written for supplements. What is the easiest way to supplement such? Instead of getting other than to supplement supplements like tablets for, let's say, like there is always the vitamin C, which we know, oranges and what. Just break it down for us, because these are the basics. We usually get the zinc, right? We usually get omega tablets, and we find ourselves getting calcium tablets. So now for our kids, special needs kids, what in those categories, what is the best way to supplement that so that you're not popping pills and it's not too expensive? Because trust me, a calcium tablet is 58 bob.
It's not cheap.
Tell me about every day. And that time maybe someone did 4 work for washing clothes and they made 100 or 200 bob, and you still have their meds, you still have the other foods, you still have other children, you still have rent, you still have. The list is endless. So what is that thing that I will walk to the kibanda next that shop and just get it, and I'll know my child is okay? And fish is not cheap either.
Yes, fish is good. Good fish.
Yes, good fish. And even now we have fish from China.
Yeah, exactly. Which
you know. So that omega, that vitamin C, and that zinc and calcium. What alternatives do we have?
That is helpful. With nutrition, there's nothing that's free and there's nothing that's cheap, especially if you want good results. So I usually say it involves doing some research whereby you find out what's close to you that can work.
Okay.
Like for example, for vitamin C, did you know that peppers, capsicums, colored peppers, have a really high content of vitamin C compared to, is it oranges?
Hohos, the colored hohos.
Yes, the colored ones. So they have a high amount of vitamin C, which is a good source. So less goes more in such a scenario. Yeah,
so they can like throw in one red bell pepper, a green one, and it adds color to the food. We always hear, don't boil too much, you lose the nutrition. You know, is there like timelines we need to look at when preparing the food?
Each food has its time period to become ready and be its best. Like for example, you know that if you cook rice, if it goes over, it becomes mushy and it becomes less enjoyable, for example. But when it comes to like veggies, the nutrients disappear when they're cooked for too long.
So when green becomes jungle green,
yes.
So you just put it in for just basics.
So when it comes to cooking, I usually say less is more. If you can use, for example, higher heat, shorter time period.
Higher heat, shorter time period. Don't forget that. And then when it comes to boiling foods like cereals now, we were talking about whole cereals, right?
Yes,
so I'm looking at the beans, I'm looking at the
lentils,
all the lentils possible. That's when we bring out the charcoal and put it in a pot and do 10 hours of boiling and hours of soaking. Does that really help? Because we hear about the longer you soak it, then the gas comes out. My mom told me another one of throwing a carrot and then... So I'm just like, okay, where did all these things come from? You know, like, does it really work that the lesser the gas is going to get? But, you know, does that really affect when you now... Because I don't know if that is overcooking, like if the green grams, if you cook it until it splits, does that mean...
Yes, it's slightly
overcooked.
When you're boiling foods, they should be able to hold. At the end of the day, you don't want to boil your beans, especially the first boil. You don't want to boil them to the point where they are mushy. They should just be soft to the touch. In that, for storage, you'll be able to take them out
without cracking them.
Yes, and then you can cook them again slightly, and then they become softer. And about the gas, it's usually when you're boiling, like again, beans. There's usually that water that comes and it has the froth at the top.
Yes.
That's usually dirt and toxins. So if you can get rid of that water...
Don't use it for supu again.
No.
That's something like, this is healthy, not thick soup. Okay, that's why we're here to learn and see. Because I've seen that happening. Like you're like, hapana inaweka kando ndairudisha sa ile makaranga. You know. So, okay, now we've learned.
So getting rid of that water usually helps, so that you're left with the boiled whole grain.
Do you rinse it after the boil?
If you want to, yes, you can. Especially, I've seen very many people who actually do that, in that they finish boiling, they let off that water, then they rinse it, then they let it dry, then that's when they package it for
storage.
The freezer.
But you see, that's it, the ones who can store it in storage. I'm just thinking of
the person who's boiling.
I'm boiling it, and this is for this week.
Yes.
You know?
You just wash them off, drain them a bit, then use them again to cook.
Okay. The other thing about being told about our environment and food, in terms of these days, back in the days, we'd put it back in the sufuria and cook with it. Now we're told we watch our aluminium go, sufurias bring issues. Or microwave has, what's that thing called again? Radioactive. So how are we safe now? how or do we go back to pots and 3 stones, which is cutting trees? Like everywhere you turn, something has a positive and a negative.
Yes, that is the truth, in that everything has a positive and a negative. And I'm always this is a running joke that we have with some friends of mine, in that our forefathers never used to get sick. They didn't have this modern problem. And what did they use? They used a pot. And the clay actually helps in protecting the food.
I thought you were saying adding nutrients.
No. Protecting the food, because of late, sometimes I usually say, you won't know until you know. In that there's certain things that the advent of using aluminium for sufurias and whatnot, when that came in, everybody had
but and now we have non-stick work.
Exactly. But now what they're coming to find out with prolonged research is that this aluminium is affecting people. It's giving people, it puts you at a disposition for Parkinson's disease.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
All these things. What I usually feel to cook with, use the most non-reactive material you can get.
So nutrition is, you guys can see the way we started from where we started.
Now we're in
because all of this plays a part in how healthy you are and how safe to. And when now the bottom of the sufuria starts cracking out.
Yes.
And you see that I read somewhere that's the point at which, but we keep them and
even now you're like,
and that's when scrub it off,
then I can still use it. The Teflon that's used to coat, for example, non-stick pans, it's quite unhealthy.
So the minute a non-stick starts chipping, that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
What do you do with it then?
Sadly, you get rid of it. You get rid of it.
Life is expensive.
The suggestion I give is that when you're buying these things, you get the most non-reactive.
No, you see.
Non-reactive.
Which are the non-reactive?
If you can get stainless steel,
if
you can get stainless steel, good quality, not cheap.
Also, so it's an investment. Your kitchen is an investment.
Yes. Also, cast iron is really good, because when you actually cook with cast iron, the free iron actually enters the food, and our bodies need iron. You get, and also using like ceramic cookware. And the good thing with spending on these items is that once you buy them once, forget about them.
Who's making pots? I think I'll go back to the ancient ones.
There's a guy I know.
I knew you were the plan. Okay. So, after this, please make sure you give me the. Actually, I'm very serious. So I'm just trying to think of all those things, and I'm like, a special needs child is sufficiently enough. Having to add other things on top of it is the last thing any mother would like. Yes. So I would rather just do my pots and have my Afro kitchen, let's go back to the days, wood, Now, did you know there is a day actually, like I was heating because I was deep frying, and the plastic ones that come these days, and it melted, and I'm like, holy Jesus, I'm like, how do I tell what is legit and what is fake, because at that point, you can imagine, had I not noticed, and then it gets stuck, it just goes into the food, and then your children ingest it. So as mothers, we have like a gazillion things to be worried about. But I'm really, really happy we had this conversation. Wow. Because I'm just like, okay, where are we going next? Because every time there's something new, there's something else that comes. So just our takeaways, as organic as possible.
As organic as possible.
Less processed.
Less processed.
Know where your food comes from.
Yes.
Balanced diet.
Yes. Your
cookery ware.
Yes.
That is the things you use for cooking.
Yes.
If you can't, like me, we are going back to pots. But stainless steel, cast iron,
and ceramic.
And ceramic. Those are your 3 safe options. This now and then. Sugar. The more processed something is, the higher the sugar levels in it. And juices, packaged juice, because we usually use it as a supplement. You just shook your head.
Yes. I don't know if I can say this, but I usually tell people, sugar is for me the version of like legal cocaine.
Oh.
In that it's such an addictive drug and it doesn't do anything to your body.
Sugar doesn't? It's just for tasting good.
It tastes good, it affects your system in that you get a spike, so it can mess with it. That's how you get diabetes, your insulin spikes. And how did we do it back in the day?
I'm soda. That was the next, because someone was like, one of the most famous soft drinks has like 16 spoons of sugar. I'm like, how do you compress 16 spoons of sugar into 500 ml? And I'm like, is that true?
Yes, it's true. It has such a large amount of sugar. And for sugar occurs in nature naturally. Yes, that's sucrose. But it never occurs on its own. By on its own, I mean it's not just sugar on its own. Sugar comes with fiber. You see how the sugar cane is? Sweet. But look at all that fiber.
Okay.
You understand? So sugar and fiber go hand in hand so that when you're digesting it, it can be released slowly.
So we use Karigotu for our tea.
That's a better
Really? Okay. Where are they now? You know, these are things we used to see so often when we were growing up. And these days, it's not. It's more like molasses for the cows. The cows are eating better than us, if you ask me that. When it comes to sugar, they're being kept safer. You know, because then they are forever on all these greens and, you know.
And before that sugar reaches you, have you ever wondered why it's so white?
Now I'll be looking at anything white times 10 the way you're going.
Yeah, it's because it's bleached. Yes.
What?
Sugar is
so
bleached.
it's brown sugar bleached to white?
Yes.
So we buy brown sugar?
Even flour, when you get white flour, it's just bleached flour.
But what do you mean white flour? Which of the whites?
You know how you have home baking flour? Yes. You can either get it slightly atta.
Yeah.
Is brown. But when you get like pure white flour, it's bleached. Like, what I was like,
chapatis. You see what? It's like mental torture. I'm just looking at my menu in the house and I'm just like, oh my god. It's like you're the one like bringing all these things home.
But the good thing is healthy alternatives.
What's the healthy alternative? Brown chapatis.
Brown flour. Even
you know, all this while I thought like brown is like the more wheat I'm giving, the more it is a problem. Actually, that has been, you know, because when we are being told, sadly, when we are told no wheat, and we don't get that education that white is the more processed one.
Yes.
So, because for me, I've been like, brown wheat means it's a whole wheat, that means it's a problem. You just said that like, whole wheat, the way it is, the brown, the better, the whiter, the more dangerous it is.
Even getting into brown rice, one of the things I personally also went through, if you eat a bowl of brown rice, then you eat a bowl of white rice. So after you've eaten the white rice, you'll get hungrier sooner.
Yes.
Because it is so processed. It is. So brown rice actually holds your stomach better. And it releases its nutrients.
So,
and that's what you want. You don't want. Have you ever seen a child who's drunk soda? 5 minutes don't even pass. They're really hyper.
Yeah.
You understand? So that gives like an insulin spike that puts your child at a disposition of getting diabetes, getting all these problems, and after that your child crashes.
Yeah.
It's like,
so it's like a high, a temporary high.
Exactly.
No, I'm just thinking about juice. I was like thinking the way I
So
am so
juice,
healthy
if
because
you
I
get
drink juice.
Try your best to squeeze your own juice, because there's a temperamental factory where they make juice. Have you ever wondered why Del Monte only grow pineapples? They have a whole range of different juices, but they only, it's because they extract the sugar from the pineapples. They get like a pineapple syrup that now sweetens everything.
So are they safer?
No. The safest way when it comes to juices, squeeze your own juice. If you can be able to in-source everything, especially when it comes to diet, you'll be at a better place.
So now I'll be going to the market every week, buying things in bulk. I need to find where my blender is.
You can talk to me nicely.
I don't do that.
Oh,
you go to like, you do all those things.
Yes.
So, Chef Jay can do all this for you. You
just give me a call.
Please share your number on that note. So those who need your services, they are able to do it. Yes. So how can they reach you if they want to ask questions?
Of course, my number is always on. It's 0729 366 536. You can shoot me a WhatsApp, give me a call, just tell me where you're calling from, and we can have a conversation. Can even call you back? I'll leave.
But do you say okay? And then the socials, or you're those ones who I don't
Chef
do
Jury,
socials?
Chef_Jury on Instagram.
Spell Jury.
Jurrie.
Una ara error maneno. So that at least we get it right. All right. So that's it for today, and it was a super amazing episode, like I promised, and I have learned. If you haven't, I don't know what you're doing here, but I have learned a lot, and I feel like I need to restart my kitchen from zero. You know, I'll even share this one with my nanny so that we are all on the same page, and then put it on the wall of the kitchen. The things we are not going to do anymore. I don't know how my kids will take
step
this.
By step. It's step by
step. By step. There's no, but this thing is stressful enough to just think of all the things that are around us. What we can control, let's do that, parents, so that we give our children healthy lives. And a healthy baby is a happier you. And like we hear, for those ones who've not yet given birth or intend to, nutrition starts when you're carrying the child in your stomach. Conception. The entire journey, see your doctors, do everything right and eat right. Just to ask, the way pregnant women eat everything, is that eating right? I'm eating for 2 is the excuse. Is that safe? Now that we forgot that part.
If you're eating the right things,
okay.
Go for it.
So eat the right things in the right proportions. Exercise also, so that you're able to help the body also process, especially our sugars. Look at the content for those of us who read everything. Good job. Keep it up. And we will see you next time. I've been your host, Dr. Sylvia Moramo Chabo Akinsiku, here on Neuro Digest, courtesy of Andy Speaks.